Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristin.
And this is So I'm Watching Desperate Housewives, Season 1, Episode 19. It says 18, but it's because it's the one we just watched, and I panic every time.
Live alone and like it.
Not my favorite episode. Not necessarily because any one thing is wrong, but it's I kind of had been meaning to do this, and I haven't, but each episode has sort of a general thesis, and this one's is loneliness and companionship. It's fair. Well, I'll start with Lynette and Mrs. McCluskey.
Mm-hmm.
I love Lynette and I love Mrs. McCluskey, and I like them together, but getting there is it's just kind of like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Why are you stealing my garbage cans? Garbage pickup was 2 days ago. These cans have been on the street ever since. I just assumed you didn't want them anymore.
Oh, that's very cute.
Well, Mrs. McCluskey is so crotchety, and Lynette is so busy. There's like no reason why Mrs. McCluskey should think that Lynette just has the time to hang out with her.
Well, Felicity and Catherine have really good chemistry, and so that's what keeps it. It just like I remember feeling this way when I watched it when I was 18, and I feel this way now, where it just sort of makes me sad. And I know that's kind of the point.
Yeah,
but. Basically, Mrs. McCluskey is old and lonely and crotchety and bored, and she takes it out a little bit on Lynette.
Bye-bye. Hi there. I brought you some avocados. I have a tree in back, but I hate them, and your family seems like the kind that would eat guacamole.
Takes it out a lot on Lynette. She was trying to steal her garbage cans.
Okay. They left those out for 3 days.
Lynette is busy, and Tom is a useless father and husband.
I'm just saying. Yeah, there's a back and forth. There's a Tiffany lamp, blah, blah, blah. Although I did forget that I think when I was younger, I just interpreted that Miss McCluskey was pouting. And I didn't realize that it was like, oh, she can't do.
She is pouting, but she also physically can't open the door.
Yeah.
Have you been taking your arthritis medication?
I don't need to. Sometimes the pain goes away by itself.
Is that why you didn't open the door? Because of your hands?
Because of her bad arthritis.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something that I have a very hard time with. Elderly and how we as a society
treat
our
elderly.
Well, we don't.
Yeah.
We just pretend it's not happening, and I don't like it. And I don't have another option. Like, I don't have an idea.
Yeah.
The whole thing just makes me really uncomfortable.
I have a great idea, and it's called communal living.
I thought you were going to say Logan's Run.
What's Logan's Run?
I've never seen a face like that before. That must be the look of being old.
It's where they kill at a certain age.
Oh, I didn't know that's what that was about.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like at 39 or something.
That's too young.
Graduate. And
that's way too young.
It's like George Lucas's first.
Oh.
Or is it TX? I don't know.
Regardless. THX is his first.
But again, I like what comes of it, and I like the performances, and even just Felicity when they make peace, and Felicity's like, and it is sort of what the show's about in a much bigger sense, is that, you know, the relationships between people in suburbia.
Yeah.
And ultimately, Lynette is like, you know what? You need this, and I can provide this, and so we'll work on it together. And she's like, we don't even have to be friends, but, you know, I'll take you to the pharmacy so you can get medicine that's not in a childproof.
Yeah, that's if you're prescribing arthritis medicine, it should not be going in a childproof cap.
No. Oh, well, and also a lot of them, like mine, you can flip the cap, and it's just a screw.
Oh, okay.
But the childproof is on. I just kind of think the childproof is fun, so I just leave it. It's like a little.
You also don't have crippling arthritis.
No. So, but Felicity's performance, and this is sort of what this is an example of what I've been highlighting this entire run, is because she says something about how they don't have to be friends, but they can do it. Yeah. And she was like, I'll take you to, the pharmacy in the morning. And Mrs. McCluskey is like, be here by 9. And Lynette's like, I'll let you have that.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't be late.
I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Pick me up at 9. And don't be late.
And Felicity acts with the back of her head.
It's It's great. It is great.
And I just love little things like that, little moments like that. I'm with you. I love Leslie Ann Warren. It's always time for Leslie Ann Warren. And when it's not, it's not. And it's no longer time for Leslie Ann Warren.
You do. Mom, would you please not flirt with the ice cream man? Why not? Do you need a reason beyond the fact that he's the ice cream man?
Woof. Sophie in this episode, like, was she having a manic episode? Was she on crystal meth? Like, I don't know what's happening. It was too much. And also, stop inviting strangers to your daughter's house.
Like strange men.
Oh, God. Susie, this is Tim.
Sorry if we startled you.
I was give and take with Lamont. Because he was saying some of the right things.
I was a little bit on his side. Yeah. Although I do love the note when Susan's kicking them out at the end and he says, he like stands up for Susan or takes up for her something. And she's like, oh.
Yeah, what's your problem, pal?
Dude, you were feeling up her mother. It pissed me off too. Come on, Susie. Let's go back inside.
Let's go back inside. Lamont, give it up. You're not getting any.
Yeah.
And he does kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that. No.
We also didn't resolve it. Sophie kept saying, I'm doing this for you to like cheer you up because you're crabby or whatever.
Sophie wants to have a good time.
And
she wants to relive missed golden years or whatever.
And that's the thing. Susan only was focusing on the like, I'm not crabby, I'm heartbroken and devastated, as opposed to, why are you making me chase your misspent youth? Like, that's a whole other facet of this thing that we did not actually touch on. And she just is like, I've been so upset since I broke up with Morty. And I'm like, are you? You don't seem it at all.
The issue that I'm having is I actually would humor Sophie, at least for a little bit. Like, I would do this stuff with her. And so for the first 30 minutes of this episode, I was kind of like, oh, come on, Susan, just do it. Just go for it. And then I imagined doing it with my mom.
She also kept on saying, I want to go clubbing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's
not even like bar, like clubbing, which has a very specific connotation.
Yeah. And I'm like, we can go to like a 60-40 bar. Is that what you want to do? You could pass for 40 maybe.
But no, anything like, yes, I actually would like to go clubbing with Leslie Ann Warren. And okay, fine, maybe I'll bang a middle-aged man. Why not? But again,
but
once I imagine
Leslie Ann Warren is not your biological mother, so it's a whole different thing.
Doing it with my mom, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, no.
Speaking of, we continue Gabby and Carlos's story.
She's kicked him out of the bedroom, which is nice.
It is nice. They're back to being on a some semi-level playing field. I don't know if I think that's for better or worse. I think that the last thing this specific show, these characters on this show at this time needed was to take a hard stance in you abused
domestic
me.
Abuse.
Yeah. Having said that, though, what we witnessed was shocking.
Yeah.
And to have them acting like the post-nup is what the betrayal was.
Yeah. Well,
is a little odd.
She does have the line where she says, if you ever touch me again.
Sure, but that's like if you grab somebody's wrist. Or grab somebody's arm.
Yeah.
And be like, don't touch me. Like, he, abused. I don't know. I don't think they needed to dwell on it.
Well, she said, I'll kill you. That implies...
That was in this episode?
Yeah.
One more thing. If you ever hurt me again, I will kill you.
Which, he may be bigger and stronger, but he does not have a monopoly on the ability to kill.
Or to tamper with prescription medication. Poison is a woman's weapon.
I suppose anything that I like or any place where Gabrielle is working is Eva Longoria, is pure charisma on her part. And I do like watching her be good at being herself.
So let me get this straight. You play tennis, you know wine, and you speak Mandarin. Does every other man in the world want you dead?
Like, I like watching her charm men and stuff like that. Although the waiter, the choice for the waiter to be behaving that way.
Yeah.
By the way, this is on me.
Oh, no, you shouldn't.
Oh, please. It's my pleasure.
Was such a strong choice that I'm almost like, well, then lean more into it. Because you even say in our watch along, $3 watches here. You're like, game recognizes game, dude. Come on. Like both of you are like hustlers at this point.
Also, you're going to get a way better tip out of this rich man than you would have out of Gabby, who is on a student credit card co-signed by the parents' budget. Unacceptable.
It's mortifying.
He also...
It's humiliating.
Okay. He keeps calling her Mrs. Solis.
Mrs. Solis, to take care of you, it's my dream.
And that's not a criticism of the show. I think that's one of the funniest, like the fact that
funny.
it keeps ripping you into reality. Do you know what I mean? Because it is a little possible to get lost in the fantasy of the bored suburban housewife and the sexy gardener.
I do just have this vision of Mark Cherry in the writer's room, and the writers, I have a feeling this was a real conversation where one of the writers was like, oh, okay, well, it's like, he's 18 now, and they're entering into this in like a different thing. He should be calling her Gabby now. And for Mark Cherry, I just know it was Mark Cherry was like, no, he has to keep calling her Mrs. Solis. It's so icky.
And they did find ways to mine it for comedy, which is impressive.
It is.
Because the word cringe is thrown around a lot these days. But even just the scene where he's just kissing her arm. How'd you know that's what I was doing? That's where I was going.
I feel trapped.
But she's just staring.
I physically recoiled from it when it happened.
She's just staring into the distance.
She's just contemplating her life.
And it's the moral of her plot, because her plot this episode is that she's never not had a plan B or options.
Oh, and Carlos cut up her credit cards and her debit card.
And so and that's just it's so weird, because it's like, you're not her father.
No, it's gross. It's super gross.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But, and I do find it a little bit disingenuous that she would, I don't know. I mean, if you get beaten down, or like
that she would what?
That she would forget that she has options, that she can just find another man.
She's remembered.
Yeah.
And not for nothing. And again, I don't want to make this a gendered thing, because I think self-care stuff shouldn't be gendered. You should be able to do whatever you want. But it was very emasculating having her tell Carlos that while he was in the bath, having a bubble bath.
Are you threatening me?
No, I'm just pointing something out. I'm a pretty girl, and pretty girls are never lonely.
Bubble bath. It was just very like...
No, your issue is correct. Your issue wasn't that a man was taking a bubble bath. Your issue was Carlos was taking a bubble bath.
Maybe that is it. Maybe it's just Carlos. We like opened into the bathroom and I was like, ugh.
I kind of like it though, because it's one of those places where you see where they are evenly matched, because he is vain and he is spoiled himself.
Sure. Yeah.
But because we gender these things, you would hurl that at her 100 times before you would hurl it at him, even though it's apt for both of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, she does, because I mean, we've said before, if we're taking this at the actresses' ages, Gabby is 30, and that is prime real estate for second and third marriages. Like,
I talked about a 60-40 bar a minute ago. Old guys want young girls. She also continues to wear unhinged outfits. That was like a silk evening gown for a day shopping trip.
She looks like Jasmine at Disney World
for a day shopping trip and then lunch.
I mean, frivolity and carelessness is very much in character for Gabby, but it's like John gives her this credit card, and I mean, I don't know. She just went on a shopping spree. And
well, okay, so I thought it got declined at lunch because of her shopping spree.
You're right.
But it's because his mom canceled it because his parents co-signed.
It's like, I weirdly wish his mom was on the show more.
Me too.
But also, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that. But she's such a presence.
Yeah.
So it does end with Carlos ripping up the post-nup.
There you go. No more post-nup.
They treat it like they've dealt with the situation, and they...
No, not even a little bit. Also, she continues to have sex with 2 men while not on birth control. I feel like John's not wrapping it up.
Don't get ahead of the show.
Just saying. I feel like she's letting that child bride raw dog her.
Well, far be it for me to stand in the way of a young man's dream.
That brings us to Bree's story.
I don't like it.
I don't know if I can do this. It was actually triggering me.
Yeah, it's not great.
Because I was going through this at this point.
Yeah.
And
Did you have to talk to a pastor?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was very aware it was an option.
Oh, God.
I was never subjected to it.
Yeah.
But I was aware that it was a possibility.
I came to my potential bisexuality well into adulthood, so no one ever said anything to me.
No, it was for the purposes of this conversation, I grew up in a conservative Christian household. I usually say moderate, mild, moderate. And my mom had what she believed was what she was meant to do, and then she had an actual moral compass and code. And so that's what I mean a lot of times when I say I got a lot of mixed messages.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times it was like, fine, we just don't talk about it. And then randomly she'd come down real hard on me on something. And so that's just kind of context. And watching this, and that's where it's like, this is not a criticism of the show. It's especially at this point in this year, like,
sure.
2000,
Yeah,
because I remember the George Bush, the war, there was a social conservative push. And so I find it authentic. And I buy Bree's plight. I believe that she believes what she's saying.
This is probably just a phase.
Exactly. So we'll get him home. We'll get him into Christian counseling so it won't become a lifestyle.
Does that make it harder for you?
Not necessarily, but it also is, it is kind of weird for me because she seems like the type of, or we are supposed to believe that she is the type of woman who is like this perfect Republican housewife, and yet she is not in lockstep with her husband's ideals. Like, she is, like, she has more convictions than he does. And so it's like, that to me she goes against the stereotype they're trying to make her, but in a bad way. Where it's like, Rex is like, I frankly don't give a damn. As long as Andrew is happy, he doesn't, because that's the whole crux of the thing with the priest, is he's like, these youths hate themselves for their sin or whatever fucking nonsense. And Andrew was like, I think I'm fine. Like, I don't hate myself. I feel good about me and this whole thing. And then the priest lets it go.
I'm not at Andrew yet. I have things to say.
But I have things to say about Andrew later. But the priest lets it lie. He's like, well, we can't force him.
I'm sorry, but I really don't want to talk about my sex life.
Well, that's just too bad because this needs to be discussed.
Bree, please let the boy speak. Go on.
Well, I appreciate your offer to help, but I don't hate myself.
Son, I know what it's like to be a teenager. It's a very confusing time.
I'm not confused. I know exactly who I am.
Well, if you ever do want to talk, my door is always open.
That was strange to me too. Again, it kind of refreshing, but the fact that the priest seemed sensible, that he was reasonable.
Lots of sensible, because that is the.
But I'm not saying that priest can't be. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is the way that character is introduced in this plot on this show.
Yeah.
You're waiting for him to be
more fire and brimstone.
Yeah. And the fact that he actually seems philosophical, which is something you would want in a reverend.
Yeah. Is he just a reverend?
They're not Catholic.
Oh, okay.
Andrew, you remember Reverend Sykes, don't you?
She's a wasp.
Oh yeah, Reverend Sykes. My bad.
So because that is another thing when I was talking about how this was triggering me because. Okay, well, I want to finish with Brie. She believes what she's saying, and she means well. And there's something about the line when she blurts out, "I'm afraid that you won't go to heaven." That is disgusting and manipulative and abusive, but it is also honest. And there's something about her actually laying her cards out that way that I found almost not relieving, but sort of like, okay, well, at least we're saying what we're talking about. So let's actually talk about what we're talking about. Because with this, you get a lot of shielded, like you speak in riddles a lot of times.
Veiled.
Yeah, you get a lot of veiled conversations when you're dealing with conservative beliefs and values and stuff. And so there's some things that I did enjoy about that scene, about her actually attempting to engage with him. And
yeah, to me, even if that is what she believes, it still is manipulative because she follows, "I'm worried you won't get into heaven," immediately with,
"And I need you there. I would be so lonely without you."
Which, don't put that on your child.
No, you are right. Yeah.
It's also like, I just can't, because like now I'm in a very like, now Bree's said it, where it's like, why are we introducing Christian heaven into this plot line, in this whole soap opera?
Well, because it's something that that is.
No, I'm aware of her as a character, but it's like, then I'm asking the writers, like.
So where I start having issues with the writers is that, so we have established. We have firmly planted Bree in the dirt.
Yeah.
And she's thriving. And we establish this plot and everything. And then we see this angle that it could go because why does Andrew hate Bree?
She's controlling.
He has very broad, nebulous reasons for hating her. And then we give a very specific issue, a very specific
a point.
Yeah, that he is gay, that goes against her beliefs morally, and yada yada. And I'm actually trying to make really good points. I think that's why I'm getting flustered, is because I'm putting too much on myself to eloquently nail what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay. I think where I get confused is that they have established, they have played this scenario out, and they have followed this thought experiment through to a very natural conclusion. And then they breakneck it into he's a sociopath.
Yeah.
Because the way that they have set it up until now, if he gets on the, like, and it's not necessarily that I wish they had done something differently, but for me, I think it might have been more authentic if he found a way to get on the same page with his mom.
Well,
and actually wanted to change, or was you think you're going in that direction, like you think that, no, and it's bad, but
I think I know what you mean. They have to breakneck and make him a sociopath in order to keep Bree sympathetic. Because this removes every ounce of sympathy from her, where it's like you're bringing a reverend to dinner, you're
surprising him
with a reverend at dinner, you're trying to make him go seek Christian counseling because you don't agree,
which is not that it's an oxymoron.
Yeah, because you don't agree that he might be gay, or that it's like appropriate for him to maybe be gay, Because he even the whole time, he hasn't said, I am definitely gay. Everything we've heard from him so far is, I think I might be gay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
and he flat out tells the Reverend
that he's bisexual.
Yeah, and even phrases it like,
look, I love vanilla ice cream, okay? But every now and then I'm probably gonna be in the mood for chocolate. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
It's just on occasion I'll fool around with a guy. And so it's like that is a very different scenario than what ends, because to my recollection, he's just gay. So we drop this bisexual plot very quickly.
But it's like, regardless, I think after he makes that comment about the ice cream, and then he basically lays out his Bond villain plan after we have had a very specific moment of the priest saying, I can't share any of what you're about to tell me with anybody. He just is like, cool, well, I am going to pretend to change and act really great and normal and amazing.
Till one day, when she least expects it, I'm going to do something so awful, it's going to rock her world. I mean, it is really going to destroy her. When that day comes, trust me, I'll know paradise.
When it'll hurt the most.
Yeah, and it's just that, I mean, that's the only reason why.
And so that leaves me sort of like, oh, because then it's like, okay, so he is he is morally, ethically corrupt and
because
bankrupt. And so then I'm just sort of like, oh, okay, so the moral is that gay people are bad.
Well, no, I wouldn't claim that. But that's the other thing, too, is like when Bree was like, I'm afraid you're not going to get into heaven. I was like, well, he's definitely not going to get into heaven, but it has absolutely nothing to do with what kind of genitals he prefers. It's definitely because he ran over an old
murder.
Woman. I mean, it's just, there's so many reasons why he's not getting into heaven that being gay hasn't even cracked the top 10.
And I think this is where the soap opera part comes in, because you are correct. You got there more efficiently than I did, but by turning it and making him the villain, it keeps Bree the hero.
Yeah,
and the way that,
because even though she's
the way we were positioned,
even though she's still technically doing something wrong, her wanting religious intervention for Andrew is potentially not the worst idea, but she's aiming it at the wrong problem.
And it's also it's so socially it's looked well upon.
Yeah,
like the culture and the society that she exists in will hold that up as a good thing that she's doing.
Yeah,
and so I don't know. I would have an easier time with this specific gay plot if Andrew was actually sympathetic.
Sure, but he's not.
And so I just find that it muddies the water. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, but again, like I said, having him be so diabolically evil keeps even her diabolical keeps even her diabolical behavior on a lesser level. Because so far, we have not said the words conversion therapy, but she is trying to change his personality. And I'm not claiming that he doesn't need a personality transplant, but again, it's not because he's gay. The gay part is
you cannot stress enough.
Is the best part about
him. It's the only thing he's bringing to the table.
Him being gay is literally the best thing about him.
So he was very funny in the dinner scene, and you were furious at Rex for making you side with him, championing him.
Because he's just totally right, because he was the one, like I said earlier, who was like, as long as Andrew is happy and doesn't have a problem with himself, but I don't think this is necessary.
This lends credence to Rex's overall point,
which is that she's
driving.
Just a control freak. Yeah, I understand.
And he's just got, and you're like, and that's precisely why I don't like it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a couple more things.
That is largely it. Well, Mike got the file from the dirty cop, who then was just extra hypocritical about Mike not being in prison still.
Well, by the end of that scene, that whole scene was very weird.
So stupid.
You were also,
it's not even understandable by the end, because ACAB, no, that guy fucking blows. That cop, no.
The dirty cop is coming at Mike with so much hostility, and you were like, okay, dude. And then basically you find out at the end.
He calls Mike a cop killer.
Yeah.
But
so
also
this manslaughter charge might have involved a cop.
But again, still manslaughter. That means that there was like no intent to kill the cop.
And so you think that dirty cop has that kind of nuance?
Maybe that cop was asking for it.
There's room for that kind of nuance.
Maybe he shouldn't have been walking so suspiciously around his own neighborhood and Mike wouldn't have shot him.
Also, again, 2005, like we did not question that type of authority in 2005.
No, right now, I like Mike more than ever.
Yeah, he did it. He'd do it again, too.
I hope he pled down to manslaughter from murder 1. How about that? Yeah, I don't know. And so he and Susan sort of make eyes at each other. Also, Sophie really desperately goes over there and is like,
Susan still loves you.
Wow. Okay.
Please talk to Susan again. And it was really
It was very funny because, understandably so, they brought out the golden hour lighting for Leslie Ann Warren. So her side of the conversation was... Love it.
I also will say one more thing that I actually really loved, and it is the reason why Tom and Lynette are still the top couple on this show, because she was talking to him about Mrs. McCluskey, but they were prepping dinner for the whole family, and they were just like going down like a little assembly line, like making white people tacos for dinner. It was very cute. I like whenever we're able to see them work as a
The
unit.
issue is Lynette has 5 kids, not 4. And so Tom needs a strict regimen.
Sure, Tom is
he needs a chore wheel.
Tom is like 17, so he's not like a child, but he is like not yet an adult.
But no, once he has proper instructions and all that, he's fine.
Yeah.
But anyways, I hope you guys like this.
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting into, and trust, actually, I held back on the breed because I was gonna launch into, I was like, you have to also keep in mind that this is liberal writers and a liberal actress portraying a conservative character.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would think that means they wouldn't be able to do her justice. But what it actually means is that they're approaching her from a very liberal, empathetic place. And so it can...
Yeah.
I'm noticing I'm saying muddied waters a lot.
Yeah.
This show and the plots and themes are murkier than I realized.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. That's part of the appeal.
I also maintain my theory, which is that they had to breakneck sideways into Andrew is legit a sociopath, because you can't fully alienate one of your 4 leads on a show. So it's like she has to still be sympathetic. And I would even argue that, like, because it's coming from a gay liberal writer's room, that, like, she's coming off worse than they intend.
Which is what I think...
Because of their own trauma of these type of people in their lives.
I think a lot of people would think that, but I don't really think that I don't think that's... I think Marcia Cross is treating Bree with the utmost care and respect. And I think that she's like, okay, if this woman believes this, then I need to find the authenticity in that.
Of course, yeah. She's a great actress.
And, you know, a lot of times, and this is very much, we're not a political show. We don't really talk about politics unless it factors into what we're talking about. But it's like many, and especially in this day and age, a lot of conservative beliefs and ideas and ideals are thoughts, are situations that haven't been worked all the way through to their conclusion.
Also, I'll talk about it all day. I'm a fucking socialist now.
No, I understand that, but it's like a lot of people, it's like if you're born here and you have to venture out into the world to learn and find things to believe in, a lot of people take 2 or 3 steps and they learn a few things and they have a few assumptions and then they think, okay, this is the way the world is.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, within these steps, sure, that makes sense.
You have to keep walking.
But if you go further, you find out that it's not always intuitive. And so I think that's sort of what I'm getting at, is it's like, how do you examine conservative thoughts and beliefs from, I mean,
Just end of question.
like how do you actually show that when so many conservative thoughts and beliefs won't actually work their own beliefs through to their natural conclusions?
Yeah.
So anyways, okay, we're gonna watch the next one and we'll see.
Bye.